everyone, welcome to the Fuel the Fight podcast. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nick Behringer. You're listening to, I'm not even going to say it, just another awesome, amazing episode. That's what you get here. Why do you have an awesome, amazing episode? Definitely not because of me. It's because of the awesome and amazing guests like the one we have on today, Jason .soileau. He is the Tactical Program Manager at the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Jason, welcome to the Fuel the Fight podcast. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. It's always a good opportunity to talk to the Lieutenant Colonel Nick Behringer.
Oh, you're too kind, Jason. You're too kind. You know, one of the things, anytime I have somebody on here with any sort of military background, I got to talk about it. So I want to know what is your kind of service story? You were in the Air Force. Why did you join the Air Force? Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, I don't think my story is much different than a lot of other people. I come from a very small town in South Louisiana and very humble beginnings. And, I was just kind of searching on what to do after high school within myself. I didn't think I was really ready to jump into the college space just yet. Had a buddy of mine that was going to join the Air Force, and he was like, hey, you should take a look at it. So that's what we did. We went to the recruiter's office together, and we ended up joining 2006. And then we went in as CE troops, structural journeyman, I guess you call it, structural engineer, basically the Air Force equivalent of the Seabees, if you're familiar with them.
Yep.
And it was a good 6 years. I got to deploy in support of OIF, great experience. And it really, allowed me to pursue my educational pursuits with the GI Bill and other things. But I always say I value that experience above most others in my life. But it was just, would I go back and do it all over again? Probably. Would I be happy about it? I don't know. But that's the story of service sometimes.
No, that's great. And yeah, the structural engineer, the CBs, awesome group of individuals. I always remember being deployed as like, we would want to get near you guys because your facilities were so much nicer. You guys built nice things, and it was always nicer than other locations. So yeah, that's awesome. What made you get into strength and conditioning?
Yeah, that was kind of a roundabout journey. I was an average to maybe above average athlete in high school, played traditional sports, football, baseball. And I always took to, conditioning and lifting weights because I knew it was going to make me better on the field of play. I didn't fully understand it and the implications of it at that point. But then as I joined the service, I was surrounded by individuals who really valued their health, their fitness, their performance. And we were competitive with each other, to say the least, right? So it really got me into reading about weightlifting and aerobic conditioning and nutrition from different sources. And I just realized that I genuinely took an interest to this kind of learning material education. So once I separated from service and I decided I wanted to go to college, it was just kind of a natural fit for me to study something that I had a general interest in. I could have gone into finance and marketing and those things, which there's nothing wrong with those, but my general interest was in kinesiology, health and wellness, exercise science. So it was more of a natural fit for me just to go into that field. And I had some really great advisors, Dr. Dave Ballar, the University of Louisiana. He was a main guiding force for me in my time there. And it was just, he helped me get exposed to the research side of things too, which I really didn't think I would enjoy, but I found myself kind of enamored by it. The process of doing quality research and learning how to read different research and assessing it, the quality of it and the efficacy and how to use the results of said research project and implement that into daily practice. That was really what enamored me and kind of shifted my position. I always say my experience is kind of a mile wide and a foot deep. I've dabbled in almost everything you can imagine, but I haven't really, delved into it to the level that other people. I always say I'm not a coach's coach and I'm not a researcher's researcher, but I can walk between those rooms rather seamlessly and communicate effectively. So I think that's where I like to be.
Well, but that's very important, and that's very needed, and that's a great skill set to have. And I love, you say, well, it's not, my depth of knowledge is not that deep, but where are you at on your you already have your doctorate, right?
No, I'm finishing up the dissertation. I'm prepared to submit my articles for publication in the manuscripts. I had, I'm more lucky than good. Let's say that, right? And I'm more educated than smart. I got an opportunity to, upon finishing my master's degree, one of my professors on my committee had worked at Pennington and noticed there was an opening for an exercise physiologist / research specialist. And he said, Jason, you should take a look at this. I think you'd be a good fit. So upon his advice, I put in my application, didn't think anything of it. I got an interview, and I sat down with who became my boss, Jennifer Rood, Dr. Jennifer Rood, a fantastic person, and my eventual PhD advisor, Dr. Neil Johansson. And they grilled me for about a good hour. It was a good show. I think I answered questions effectively. They hired me eventually, but I spent almost 5 years at Pennington Biomedical, working in their exercise testing lab, human performance lab, on a number of different projects spanning Alzheimer's and dementia and geriatric populations, testing on children as young as 8 years old and looking at health and fitness implications, running exercise tests on expecting mothers. If you ever want to be a little terrified during an exercise test, run an exercise test on a mother at 32 weeks. It's a little nerve-wracking, but having that experience really opened my eyes to the public health aspect of exercise science, health and wellness, nutrition. I mean, I was rubbing shoulders and walking the halls with people like Peter Kaczmarzyk, Eric Ravison, Robert Newton, Jennifer Rood, and every once in a while, this really good researcher from Usarium, Stefan Paziakos, would pop in and teach me a few things. And as I progressed in my PhD, we had a couple trials ongoing called OPS, Optimizing Performance for Soldiers, that Dr. Jennifer Rood and Stefan Paziakos were working on together, and I proposed to do ancillary studies off of that main study. I really wanted to look at cytokine response and genomic response to something that was based off of your work, the calorie deficit observed in prolonged military operations, right? Because we understand that if they are put into a calorie deficit for a prolonged period of time, it shifts them to the catabolic state. And once they leave the anabolic state, we know the physiological outcomes of that: decreased bone mineral density, decreased lean mass, and other, they even have cognitive declines in some cases. But I had a really great professor at LSU, Dr. Guillaume Spielman, who was an exercise immunologist who had just come from NASA. He studied under Michael Gleason, and he really kind of got me enamored with the exercise immunology field. So I approached Stefan and I approached Dr. Rood, and I said, I really want to look at cytokine response and the genomic response, transcriptome response. And I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here. In response to these studies that we've done, these prolonged calorie deficit, extended physical activities. And I guess you guys are just going to have to read the papers once they come out to see the results.
No, that's great. And I'm so glad we went down this rabbit hole, because that's what I wanted. Because, Jason, being a humble guy, was kind of downplaying, your research background. And so for those who don't know, when he talks about Pennington Biomedical, that's like the National Football League. I mean, that's the pros when it comes to research. That's at the highest level with the highest level researchers. So it's a testament to your skill set, your knowledge, that you've worked at that level. So you were downplaying your research background, but I think just by that that rabbit hole we ran down, people now know that he's got there's some depth there for sure.
I've never been happier to be the dumbest person in the room. It was just a great experience.
It's funny. I said the same thing when I was at the U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine, where Stefan Pasiakos and Lee Margolis and all those great scientists, Phil Carl, who we had on the show, are at. Yeah. So now, can you tell us a little bit about the tactical program at the National Strength and Conditioning Association?
Yeah, we primarily support the TSAC-F certification, the Tactical Strength and Conditioning Facilitator certification. If you're not familiar with that, it's been around for about a decade now.
Wow.
When I say I stand on the shoulders of giants in this position, like Mark Stevenson, Tyler Christensen, Nate Palin, these guys really led the way and enabled me to be in the position that I am now, where we were really at the forefront of tactical strength and conditioning. I mean, there were programs like Thor 3, POTUF, and those that were active back then, but they really saw the opportunity to provide education and knowledge to the practitioners on their level. And I always say, meet them where they're at. And that's really what TSAC-F does for operators, police, fire, EMS, military personnel. There's about 70% overlap with CSCS, so it's a quality certification. It's the only accredited tactical strength and conditioning certification of its kind. But it really meets them where they're at and teaches them the fundamentals or the foundation of strength and conditioning in their setting, then the application of those foundations, and then at the end, the implementation, how to use that knowledge to be, I always like this term, an agent of positive change, right, in their respective settings. So if a law enforcement officer achieves TSAC-F certification, they can go into their department and be that local SME that sometimes is needed in that setting. They receive really foundational knowledge, but it also is really important for, we have an emerging employment market in tactical strength and conditioning, especially in the DoD side of the house, and public safety's expanding as well. So a CSCS can only complement their skill set with a TSAC-F certification. And if they're really pursuing these tactical jobs, it really shows that they've devoted the time, the effort, and acquired the knowledge to understand these populations and be effective in that setting. That's not to say that a sport coach or a coach centric to college professional sport can't be successful in the tactical area. I mean, we see lots of them, but we really want to serve both the practitioner and the coach with this certification. And my initiative currently or lately has been working with colleges to implement tactical strength and conditioning curriculum, so we can really address this vacuum that we have, right? Like there's more open positions than we have coaches to fill. So if we can really, for lack of a better term, create a farm system coming out of these universities and colleges, and they understand the rigors and the needs of the tactical population, I think that really serves that student or soon to be professional well, because they can easily transition into the tactical space and be effective.
No, that's great, and yeah, you mentioned some big names. Mark Stevenson. I remember. I think he was the first with the tactical program, and then Tyler,
Yes.
and then Nate.
And Jay Dawes. Let me not forget Jay Dawes.
Yeah, don't forget Jay Dawes. You can't forget him. The unforgettable Jay Dawes. So a lot of great names there. What's the best change you've seen so far, like in the tactical training since you've been in it? Like what have you seen that's like, hey, this is positive. We're heading in the right direction.
I think it's the growth in the employment sector. Obviously, H2F gets a lot of attention because arguably it's the largest public health intervention ever, right? You and I, we both understand the size and magnitude of this. And the primary touch point within the H2F system, this is Jason's opinion, is the strength and conditioning coach. There's anywhere from 10 to 14 of those under one program director as compared to the other positions where there might be less. So I think that's really important, is that they're leaning on the strength and conditioning side to create positive change, and not just through fitness and physicality, but through building relationships and having this service available to soldiers is huge. We we understand that the training age of a soldier can vary from person to person. Some have been training since they were kids. Some have never been in a weight room ever. And it's great to have quality coaches there that can understand both aspects of that and be effective with both of those types of soldiers. We're seeing great growth in the public safety side as well. And there's other, service branches that are starting to heavily invest more in their health and wellness programs, respectively, too. So I think that's the best change I've seen since I've been in this space, is just the growth of the job market and the opportunities it presents to the NSCA strength and conditioning coaches. If they're pursuing this type of, serve those who serve us. I love saying that because that's exactly what it is. It's more of a service role, and some are really gratified by that. So if I had to say any one particular thing, that's the best thing that I've seen.
No, that's great. Yeah, it's definitely the growth and the fact that a lot's going to be put on these strength coach, a lot of responsibility in terms of they're going to be the main touch point a lot of times for working with those war fighters. With kind of the positive, are there any concerning issues or challenges you see right now in that tactical training space?
I think there's always going to be challenges, but it's nothing that can't be overcome by the collective group, the DoD with the NSCA support. Like I said previously, there's a bit of a vacuum there. The contracting companies reach out to the NSCA. They say, we're having trouble filling these positions because we just can't find enough people to fill these positions. So that's really why I pivoted and tried to, I've been working with numerous colleges and trying to create tactical strength and conditioning coaches to fill these positions. It's a good problem to have. These strength and conditioning coaches are desired and valued in this space. There's just not an appropriate number of them currently, or really it's creating awareness. Some coaches still just aren't aware of the opportunities in the tactical space. So that's where I've really been leaning towards trying to affect positive change, again, is creating awareness that there's opportunities in the tactical space and good opportunities, and B, we really have to address this vacuum that we have of qualified personnel going into these positions.
No, it's like seeing this with even H2F, like with dietitians. I mean, this is like the biggest demand for dietitians we've seen in quite some time, and it's definitely. I mean, we're growing our program on the military side just to fill that. So I can't imagine, on the strength side where it's exponential in terms of positions. Getting people quality people to fill those positions. It's going to take some time to kind of build the bench, if you will. No.
Yeah, and we're still 1 year, maybe 18 months into H2F, not including the pilot program.
Right.
It's going to take time. We can't think in terms of days, weeks, or months. I think we have to think in terms of years. And then on the leadership side, or the green suiter side, enlistments and careers. We really have to embrace change, which the Army has 240 years of culture that if you're going to try to fight against that, it's a losing battle. So what you really have to do is create a relationship. And I know the term buy-in is used a lot, but I think that's just another term for building a relationship and being able to effectively answer the question, why? Why is this training important to me? Why does it make me a better soldier? Why does it make me a better person? Husband, father, mother, sister, brother, whatever that may be. And being able to communicate that back to the soldier effectively, that's the real challenge. But to me, that's the most fulfilling aspect. If you can't answer those questions, then maybe you should do a little bit more educating of yourself.
No, that's a great point. And I love the time component because, I think a lot of people, this expectation of now or tomorrow, or it's going to be this quick fix. But, I had Nate on, and he kind of said the same thing. It's like, hey, Army's been around a while. it's going to take, at least some of that time to change that culture, or at least, from the time that private comes in and first exposed to H2F till the time that they're a command sergeant major. We need to look at the timeline more like that, and they're in a leadership, and so they fully understand that program across the continuum. So, no, I think that's a great point to make, and I'm glad you brought that up. Now, you've talked a little about your previous research and your projects with cytokines. So when that paper comes out, we'll definitely have to see it. Are there any other projects with tactical athletes you got going on now that might be of interest to the audience?
Currently, no. I guess I've put my research profile on pause until, opportunities can present themselves. If there's researchers or academics listening to this, I still love research. I'm still always looking to be part of, good research projects. So if they want to collaborate, I'm always there to be a helpful hand.
No, that's great. Yeah, and especially with your background, if there are any young researchers looking, especially to get into the tactical space, and to understand that, because I think that's really important. Because sometimes I see folks who've done research kind of in other areas, and they come to the tactical and they don't, understand timelines and military training and things like that, and it makes it very challenging to conduct research.
It's the biggest thing I found is that unless you're Lieutenant Colonel Nick Behringer, Dr. Stefan Paziakos, having access to actual military personnel can be a barrier, a big one. At Pennington, we sort of worked around that, and that everyone that participated in our study had to meet the same standards that prospective military service members had to as well. They basically went through the pipeline of accession, and that's how we got our participants into our studies. But for the young researcher, if you want to get into the tactical space, USAREUM, U.S. Army Research Institute of Environmental Medicine, fantastic research facility that has a lot of opportunities for internships, fellowships. Air Force Research Laboratory is another great one. Naval Health has a great research program. All the service branches essentially lean on their research for research and development, because they're constantly trying to A, deliver better services, and B, be better themselves. So there's not, if you're intimidated by research in the tactical space, I would say don't necessarily be intimidated. There is a pathway there. It's just having the knowledge of who to reach out to, how to build your resume or CV to be appealing to those different research centers. And I'm always happy to connect with anybody to talk about my experience and maybe provide suggestions to them to help them in their careers.
No, that's great, and I'm glad you highlighted that there are other labs out there and doing great work, and and to get plugged in with those labs, they're always looking for help. So no, that's good. Now I want to talk about the NSCA's their annual tactical training that's coming up in August here in the great state of Texas, right here in San Antonio. Can you talk a little bit about that and that event, and what all is happening, and the dates? If I remember right, it's around the end, if you have those in front of you.
Yeah, so the NSCA's Tactical Annual Training is going to take place August 23 through 26 at the JW Marriott in San Antonio, Texas. It's a fantastic venue, a couple of golf courses, 9-acre water park. It's a true resort that we're providing a government rate as well for any of our attendees, so the price point is really low. But this is the event in tactical human performance to be at. If you're interested in the space, you're looking for networking opportunities, you're looking for that career move, it's the who's who of the tactical training space. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers, just to name a couple or a few. We have Major retired Donnie Bigham, Dr. Rob Ward's going to be there, Captain or former Captain Alex Morrow from CIMT, Megan Lautz, who's a registered dietitian in the fire space, Matt
Rescue
Zanis.
RD, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, we have some heavy hitters, Matt Zanis, who is a PT for the Olympic shooting team, Chris Tex McQuilkin, This other guy, you may have heard of him, Lieutenant Colonel Nick Barringer.
Don't worry about him. Skip that talk.
But
Yeah.
we're really aiming to bring some quality content. We have EJ O'Malley from the FBI. He's going to be talking about his 20 years of experience in training FBI personnel and how they go about it in that sector. Jay Dawes, Joe Alemany, and Dan Bornstein are going to talk about the basically how the lack of phys ed in our primary schools and public schools is arguably creating a national security situation with the lack of accession into the DoD. I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I haven't gotten the full picture. But I was interested, and now I'm intrigued. Right? Andrew Thompson and Lacey Lirla and their group are going to present on how they turned, I think it was around a $2 million investment into a $5 million ROI
Wow.
in 3 years with the U.S. Marine Corps. Brent Moore, former Air Force PJ, he's going to talk about psychological skills for tactical professionals. The grandfather of tactical strength and conditioning, Mark Stevenson, he's going to also talk about performance under threat and lessons he learned from working with special operations. We just have like this high level of content. Dr. Jan Redmond, talking to us, but heart rate variability can tell us about readiness. My goal in this year, at least building out this, was let's elevate the content. Let's bring in the heavy hitters. I want people to have to decide, am I going to see this person or am I going to see this person, and have it be a tough decision.
Dang you,
but the
Jason.
great thing is we record all of our presentations. So you can always see those presentations after the actual event. It's going to be fully virtual as well, but we do want to see you there in person. We're going to have, direct connections and interviews with the hiring companies, the contracting companies that are hiring for our tactical positions. We're going to have roundtables with experienced coaches. You can ask these coaches, how do I get into tactical? How do I advance my career through tactical? I want to do only tactical. How do I build my 20, 30-year career through tactical? And these people will be able to answer those questions for you. And then, I'll be floating around somewhere. So please stop, shake my hand, give me a hug. I love hugs. And let's talk, let's chat. And just know that the goal of this event is to really, present best practices and ongoing innovations that we're seeing in the field, but bring this talented collective of human performance professionals together for one event to where we can really set the course moving forward.
No, and this is the opinion of Nick Barringer. Having attended, those events, it's kind of a way for me to make sure, I'm still learning and continuing to learn. I can say, I'm always pleased but yet frustrated that Jason and the NSCA team make this great schedule to where I always have to choose. And then like last year, I think I had to speak and Donnie was speaking at the same time. And I'm like, I want to go to Donnie's talk. I was kind of, but no, it's great. And I think I saw what's the headliner? Is it Nate Boyer is coming in?
Yeah. So former Green Beret, former Division I football player, former NFL player, Nate Boyer is going to be providing a keynote. But, we really wanted to bring representation from both the military sector and the public safety sector. So we have the Chief Neil Gang from California, who he's just revered in the public safety space as being really a leader in officer and LEO health and wellness. He's going to provide a really riveting keynote as well. What we really want is exposure. We understand people are coming in with the military background, but we want them to understand that there are similar yet different obstacles that the public safety sector brings, but it's not insurmountable. And I really want to have this totality of understanding of the true tactical professional. It's not just military. It's not just law enforcement, fire, EMS. We really all serve the same types of people. We just have varying difficulties or obstacles in there, and it's better for the group to understand all of those.
No, that's great, and thanks for running us through that. Here in San Antonio, if you are listening to this and you are here in San Antonio in August, during those dates, what, the 23rd through the 26th.
Correct.
There's really no other place you should be. But they're soaking up the knowledge if you're interested in this space, because yeah, it's going to be a great event.
We have a template for a justification letter. So if any individuals would like access to that, I can provide my email and phone number after or towards the end of this, and they can reach out to me directly. I'd be more than happy to send that over to them.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely get that out there, and that's for any service members or government entities looking to attend the event. How to justify it to your command, because again, it's an educational piece. I've been attending these things since I think the first one, and I've never not learned something. So I can tell you that. So definitely a great event. Jason, we talked a little bit about your background. We've talked about the tactical setting, and this is a great event coming up. Are there any resources or like book recommendations that you would recommend for folks interested in like working with this population?
Oh, well, I'd be remiss not to say we have this great textbook from the NSCA in Human Kinetics, The Essentials of Tactical Strength and Conditioning. It's a foundation educational, fantastic educational resource. I find myself flipping back and forth through it constantly, just trying to reaffirm these nuggets of knowledge. It's very similar to our Essentials of Strength and Conditioning. It's just geared in towards the tactical population. We have a sports nutrition textbook as well that's really valuable. I'm weird. I like to read textbooks. It's anything by, you probably know, Asker Jukendrup, fantastic author in the sports nutrition field. If you want to do the rabbit hole dive into exercise immunology, Michael Gleason is another great author there. And then outside of the textbooks, I'm looking over my bookcase now. I'm trying to think. The Way of the Seal by Mark Devine was always one of my favorites. I always suggest Sun Tzu's Art of War if nobody has ever read it. It's an easy read, but it really can help set the tone in professional interactions and even personal interactions at that. Man, you got me. Rework is a great book too. It's really about leadership skills and how to run an effective team. Oof. Lions Don't Need a Roar by D.A. Benton. And I could go on, but I don't want to take up all of your time.
No, that's great. Although, you got to do a Navy SEALs book. Can't you have one Ranger book in there? Maybe, a Nick Irving or,
Well, that's where I lean on you, man. Give me those suggestions. I could probably breeze through them fairly quickly, and I'm sure I would enjoy them.
Yeah, you got to the Reaper, Nick Irving, Sniper,
Okay.
375, and then Paul Martinez, When the Killer Man Comes, another sniper. Ranger snipers writing books. I don't know why, but they're great books. I own them both. I got to recommend. But the Navy SEAL books are great too. I read those as well. But I got to plug some Ranger authors in there. Oh, and Violence of Action by Marty Skovlin, also another great Ranger book.
Definitely check those out. Thank you.
Since I totally hijacked that question from you, sorry about that.
No, these are the best kinds of interactions. We're sharing knowledge.
Yeah. So where can folks find you and reach you, Jason?
Yeah, so my email is my name, jason.soileau, spelled Soileau. Forgive me, I'm a swamp rat from South Louisiana, at NSCA.com. And my direct line is 719-619-6754. I pride myself on being a resource to anybody that I can help. If you think I can help, or you think I can answer a question for you, maybe get you in connection with someone else in the field, please reach out to me. Let me be that conduit for you. That's why I get up in the morning and go to work. And I heard this term from another colleague. I think of myself as professionally unemployed because I truly enjoy what I do. It's what fills my cup. It's what lights my fire. All those, catch terms that you want to use, but that's truly what I enjoy about this position, is just being able to connect with all these different people in these different sectors and being a conduit and an agent of positive change again.
No, I love it. Any closing thoughts?
I encourage everyone, if you haven't explored the tactical space yet, reach out to someone who does. If I can help you, contact someone who is in that field. Learn more about it. It may be of interest to you. There's a lot of openings currently available. There's a lot of opportunity. There is a vertical pipeline, if you will, from that entry-level coach position up to program manager, and really, you could really build your career through the tactical sector, and not only in the strength and conditioning space, but physical therapy, occupational therapy, dietitian, nutritionist. There's just a wealth of opportunity. I've done a little bit of market research, and it's looking like tactical strength and conditioning, respective to the DoD alone, will rival the collegiate sports sector by 2030 in the number of opportunities. So if you're a student, you're looking for your next move, I encourage you to explore the tactical space. And if I can help you do that, I'm more than happy to do that.
No, that is awesome. And I'll put your information in the show notes. Jason, thanks so much for being on. It was awesome having you. I could talk to you all day, and I look forward to hosting you here in San Antonio. We got to bring you by the schoolhouse, host you in person. But again, thanks for being so generous with your time and sharing your wealth of knowledge, your deep wealth of knowledge with the Fuel the Fight audience.
I can't wait to be in a room full of dietitians as an exercise physiologist, man.
Oh, it's going to be
there.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I would always, Dr. Neil Johansson and I, we would always have fun with the nutrition people, and it was a fun statement that we always tossed around, but obesity is a problem you can literally run from. And if you want to start a healthy conversation or a healthy debate, just say that in a room full of nutritionists and dietitians, and
drop that hand grenade and then, get it going. I love it. Well, hey, everybody, thanks for listening. This has been the Fuel the Fight podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, listen on iTunes, anywhere else you get your podcast. Like, subscribe, and always feel free to shoot me a note if there's somebody you want to have on the episode. But that's been it for this episode. Thanks so much, Jason, for being on, and everybody have a great and wonderful day.
Thank you.